Right, so today I want to just talk about improvised tools that could be implemented out of an act of sheer desperation for, or as a force multiplier. So, of course, first of all, let's talk about it from a UK perspective where you've been fucking castrated and unlawfully disarmed of your God-given right to carry anything for the purpose of self-defense. So anything that you have on your person or that you use as a tool of opportunity to get yourself out of a jam as a force multiplier cannot be an item that would be legitimately employed for the purpose of self-defense. You cannot have anything. So you cannot have pepper spray as a chemical irritant. You cannot have any type of taser. You cannot have any less than lethal tool. You cannot have a point edge weapon purpose-built by design. You cannot have a spattle baton. You cannot have a kosh. You cannot have anything for the purpose of your own self-preservation. And if you have anything on you that you say that you carry for the purpose of self-defense, you will be unlawfully prosecuted. Which of course doesn't apply to the criminal ilk. As we see with the two-tier policing, who can carry purpose-built weapons for the purpose of your injury and demise and seemingly not get the same consequences as you. So where does that leave you? Well, like I said many times before, you've got to coexist in this broken system until at least it breaks down completely and all fucking bets are off. And in that time, you cannot put yourself in a situation where you are likely to be incarcerated because you are no good to anyone incarcerated, right? So you have to improvise, you have to adapt. So the what you carry that may double as a force multiplier cannot be any type of purpose-built device for the purpose of your own self-preservation or self-defense. It has to have another legitimate reason for having it being in existence, right? So I've talked to you before about point impactive and point penetrative, right? So example of point impactive would be some sort of palm stick or a massage stick. So this is exactly what it says it is, a massage stick. And I use it literally all the time. There's a couple of different variants. This one is solid oak. And this is quite rounded and beveled. This is for general myofascial release, which works really well. This one's somewhat sharper, and this one is for getting into areas once I've warmed up with the other one. And I do legitimately use it for that purpose. It's a massage stick, just as you would buy in a market in Thailand. But what it can double up as is as a force multiplier in the form of point impactive. What I mean by point impactive is if I apply all of my bodily force behind this single structured point into a large muscle group, it will incapacitate that area and disrupt movement. But it won't penetrate. It won't break skin. It will just create a contusion, a bruise, and a disruption of movement. Conversely, if I slam it into bone, I'm going to fracture and break bone. So, hand holding a weapon is one example. Right? Of course, in the worst possible case scenario, if I slam this continuously into your head repeatedly, I'm going to make indentation or dents that will create depression and compound fractures, which will lead to a much higher consequence. But context dictates content. It could be employed up to and including deadly force should the need arise, but it could be used much lower down the margin just to incapacitate. And this comes under the category of point impactive. A marker pen can also be used in the same way, and it's just a marker pen. A flashlight for the purpose of illumination could also be used in the same way. It's going to crack bone, it's going to depression, create contusion and bruising and disruption to muscle tissue, but it won't penetrate. So these are examples flashlight, marker pen, massage and pocket stick of point impactive. Conversely, here is some examples. Again, first of all, I'm showing you something that has a legitimate purpose, that is not a purpose-built weapon, right? Because you can't have anything, remember, in the UK. A solid one-piece metal pen, right? Solid in structure. A solid, cylindrical, made of aluminium pencil with replaceable nibs, both for the purpose of writing. A small screwdriver, the type that you would do fine work with on your glasses or electrical wiring in your car, but nonetheless a small screwdriver. Not weapons by design, but coming under the category of point penetrative, which means that if I slam this into something, it will pierce and it will go through. So of course context dictates content, but what you're replicating with such an item is a spike, much like this plastic hard spike or shard of metal, which isn't sharp, but it's rounded, solid, and it's been wrapped in cordage. So this was for the purpose of showing the innovation or the innovativeness of people in prison that make captivity weapons. This would be something along the lines of a shiv, although it wouldn't be corded, it would just be rough tape. It's just a piece of metal, right? Now this, of course, has been manufactured or engineered to be a weapon, so you wouldn't carry this as a UK citizen. This belongs in the archives of many other stuff that I use for teaching example, as does this plastic spike. But this is point penetrative, right? And what replicates that, but it's not a weapon by design, would be some solidified maybe structure as a pen or a pencil or a screwdriver. So point impactive, point penetrative. Keeping that idea in mind then, right? Point impactive is where I'm going. Here is a couple of examples of a very ergonomic fixed blade that just belongs in my collection. It never sees the light of day in any other way. And this was the Colonel blade, which I believe was a company that has since gone bankrupt. But it's ergonomically designed to hold like a pistol in your hand, so that the structure of your shoulder, elbow, wrist alignment in this forward ergonomic punching way is the way in which you employ this Colonel blade. It's angled. This is a carbon fibre version of same said tool. You literally hold it in this grip, so, and punch forward. So what I'm concerned with here is the shape. So of course this is a purpose-built tool, purpose-built weapon. It belongs in a collection. You would never carry this on the street as a UK citizen. What I want to bring you to is the shape, and understand that this is point penetrative, right? And then I want to introduce you to something that I was shown recently by one of my students, Tim, who used what I'm going to show you for the purpose that it's made for. The same shape, only now point impactive, in this little device, right? So this little device, and there's many different ones on the market, is a car handle that universally fits into any car. When you open a car, you've got that circular part, and it will sit in that and provide itself as a handle for somebody who has a disability or an elderly person to use as assistance to get out, right? And what it's also got is a window breaker function and a seat belt cutter function. And this is a car armrest, portable handle, helps you get in and out of the car. That has these other features which will break the window or cut the seatbelt in an emergency, right? So it's not a weapon by design. But ergonomically, if you look at it, it has that same natural way of using, which could be employed as a force multiplier, as the point penetrative kernel, right? But it's point impactive. So since I got this one on the recommendation, just from Amazon, less than a tenner, I've had a look at some other various models that are similar, and I've noticed one or two that's better, so I've ordered them as well. But this is something that you can have in your car, right in the console, where you could grab it, right? And its legitimate use is for getting in and out of the car, right? One of your relatives, or got a bit of dodgy leg, whatever else. So that's what it's for. Well, first up, you might ask yourself, why would you live in a shithole country that has government and policing that has failed its duty of care to the people of birthright to this land so massively and miserably, it's just unbelievable. And then adds insult to injury by forbidding you to carry anything at all, anything, for the purpose of your own self-defense, self-preservation. Bearing in mind that defense of self is the oldest natural law known to man. You might ask yourself, well, why would you live in a place like that? Well, first advice would be, don't fucking move. Go to somewhere where you have the legitimate right to carry something to protect yourself. And trust me when I tell you, that is on my to-do list. But if not, and you have to be here and coexist in this fucking clown show place, well, you're no good to anyone incarcerated, you're no good to anyone in jail, so you have to coexist. And by that I am telling you yet again that you should not carry any purpose-built weapon by design for the purpose of your self-defense. Even though outrageously you should have the God-given right to do so, it's not going to do you any favours. Unless of course you're a criminal, where it will be taken into consideration with the two-tier policing policy. In which case then, moving away from that, you will need to improvise. Adapt in order to overcome. The idea would be that you don't ever get caught without a force multiplier. But again, it can't be a weapon by design. It must be something else that has a legitimate use that can be used in a jam. And this item that I just talked about fits that criteria. How would you use it? Well, just in a simple punching motion. Right, so let's say you've got a problem, somebody coming up to you all calm. Always implement good car security. So as soon as you get in the car, look at the fucking door. It's hot, use the 2-inch window roll, or use the aircon. Don't have your door just so anyone can open it. Don't have your window open so anyone can lean in. You know, it's just not street smart. But if you do get caught in a situation like that and you've got this to hand, you would just punch it repeatedly into the face. And the way I would say use it is strike, grab, and repeatedly fucking strike until there's no more problem or nothing else to talk about. So, just an item that you might consider. Sold as a portable arm rest for getting in and out of the car. Window breaker function, seatbelt cutter function, ergonomic in the hand. Just feels just like you would hold something natural if you just punch your hand out in its normal way in a vertical sense like this. Now you could use this. Target, because it's point impactive, soft tissue. I'd slam this straight in the fucking eye socket. Put his fucking eye in the back of his head. It's not text dictating content. Side of the neck, slam it into the side of the neck. Could create contusion, drop blood pressure. Very, very unlikely to go in. Or bone, ribs, jaw, facial structure, orbital socket, whatever. But it's time for you to start seeing weapon potential in everyday items, and this is an everyday item that you can have in your car, and I would suggest you check it out. Peace.